Welcome to the WTF Podcast. My name is Molly Smith, and I am on a mission to equip 1 million people with the tools to recognize when they're in the funk, but more importantly, how to pivot out of it. By tuning in today, you've joined me on this mission, and I'm so grateful that you are here. Today, we are talking about the kind of funk that challenges your resolve, the kind that shows up when you've poured everything into a goal only to have life throw you a curveball. My guest has personal experience with this kind of funk. After navigating a setback that tested both his body and mindset, Paul found himself standing at a crossroads between giving up or showing up again. Paul Stroessner is a writer, runner, and the creator and host of Gen X Journeys, a podcast celebrating the resilience, reinvention, and spirit of Gen X. Yes, through his work, he reminds us that it's never too late to chase something meaningful or to rediscover who you are in the process. Paul, welcome to the WTF Podcast.
Thank you so much, Molly. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, when I saw your story, now I know a little bit of Paul's story, everyone, but when I saw the ending of the story that we're going to share today, I was like, okay, you have to come on my podcast because this is such an amazing, amazing story. But to kind of tee us up and to set the foundation, Paul, you set a very lofty goal for yourself to run a race in every single state. When did you set that goal and what inspired that mission?
Let's see. When I was in high school, I ran cross country and I was actually the captain of the team and everything. And then I kind of fell away from running after high school. I would just, I would run occasionally just to try to lose weight or something like that. I was a cook in the Navy, so my cooking was good, so I could eat pretty good. So.
Nice.
So I kind of actually got in a funk with that, and then in 2012 I went back to the gym, and I I'll show my age. Like I graduated in 1988, so this is how long it was in between running. So I joined the gym just to try to get in shape, and I was there for a full year just trying to do things on my own, and it wasn't working. So I decided I need a personal trainer. So I got me a personal trainer, and long story short, it's Adriana Ferns, and our first meeting, she asked like my history and my health, and I told her I was the captain of my cross country team in high school, and this was in October of 2013, and she said, "Oh, I'll have you running a 5K, doing the downtown jingle in 2 months." So I went from not running nothing and then I did it. I ran that race with her, and I just I had never done anything like that before. It's different between competition in high school and doing like a race, big race like this. And the energy was just so amazing, music playing and all celebrations and everything. And she ran with me the whole time. I ended up running the whole thing without stopping. So it's like, that's amazing. Yeah, I love this. Yeah. And then, she's kind of crazy that she had me level up and I trained for an obstacle course race next. And so then that following May of 2014, it was like a freak accident. I really messed up my ankle. There was an obstacle. I was jumping barrel to barrel, and then I made it to the end, and there was downpours the night before. So there was water where there shouldn't have been water. So I jumped as far as I could, and then my ankle hit a rock. And so then I ended up finishing. This is a mile and a half into the race, and I ended up finishing that race anyway. So that's another thing. When I'm going through something tough, I tell myself, "Oh, I made it through that, so I can do anything."
Yes, absolutely.
So that lays a little bit of groundwork. So then it took me a little while I had ups and downs. My ankle would flare up constantly, and then the following year in 2015, I was out for a run, and when I'm running, a lot of times when I'm in the zone, ideas come flowing to me. I love writing, so I get a lot of writing ideas with that too. But I was podcasting at the time with a podcast called Return to the 80s. And then I was thinking, I love traveling. This running is fun. I found out that a lot of races run for charities. So I said, I could bring attention to charity in each race. Yeah. And and I could write about it because I love writing. And then so I called it Journey of the Road Runner. I'm from Rhode Island, so I spell road, like RHODE. So I started this brand, so to speak, called Journey of the Roadrunner. So I decided to run a 5K in all 50 states. So
Okay, so how
yep.
many states have you done so far?
Well, spoiler alert, I this last one I did was 13. So yep.
13.
13 so far.
13.
Yeah.
And you're writing a
Yeah.
book about your experiences in each of these races, right?
Yes, yep. I'm calling it Journey of the Roadrunner. So I'd like to cover 10 states in each book. So I'm almost on my first book. So yeah.
Yes. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about, you set another lofty goal for yourself. I guess, was it last year or the year before?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah, at the
Okay,
beginning of
so
last year. Yeah.
okay, so what did you set out to do? So you were running 5Ks, correct?
5Ks.
Like
Yeah.
5Ks. Okay, so what was that lofty goal that you set for yourself?
I wanted to level up, and I have this thing in my head that's like go big or go home. So I decided to run a marathon.
Heck yeah. Okay.
Being from Rhode Island, I'm near Boston, so I have, so I've been to the Boston Marathon a few times as a spectator, so that kind of inspired me. So I had this little thing in my head. Yeah.
Okay, and so which marathon did you choose to like sign up for?
I ended up doing the Marine Corps Marathon. So I searched to look to find which marathons were good for beginners. And yep, it was a toss up between the Marine Corps Marathon and the Philadelphia Marathon. It was suggested. And since I was in the Navy, I have this close affiliation with the military. And yep. So I decided to do the Marine Corps Marathon. I've heard great things about it. So,
how did you train for the marathon? Did you get a coach or how did that work?
Yep, I ended up having a coach. So his name's Denny Cray. He actually has a podcast called Diz Runs. If anybody is interested in that. Yeah. So I knew him through his podcast, and I actually, when I started my Journey of the Roadrunner blog, one of my first interviews, I did a written interview with him. And so
cool.
Yeah. And then I had him on my 100th episode. I used to have a Journey of the Roadrunner podcast, so I had him on as my 100th episode before he was my coach.
That's amazing. So you had a relationship with him and reached out to him to ask him to coach you.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you started training for a marathon, what was the longest distance race that you had run?
I had done one 10K, and that was rough because my ankle was really bad that day. So I did more walking than running, but it was the Ocean Road 10K, and it was literally along the ocean here in Rhode Island. It was beautiful. So then that also got me thinking, if I do longer distances, I could see more things than I would in a 5K. Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, I ran a half marathon back in 2020 in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was not thinking about the view. I was running that. When I say running, I was walking and jogging. I wouldn't call it running, but I crossed the finish line. So, okay. But I was not looking at the view, nor was that top of mountain. Just running a half marathon. Okay. So how many months did you train for the Marine Corps Marathon?
No, this is when it gets sticky because so I started training, I believe it was the end of March, beginning of April. Oh no, you know what? It was in April because before I made that decision, I went to the Boston Marathon. I went to the expo to visualize myself running a marathon. Smart. So like I walked through the door, and I was actually, to get in, you had to actually go walk in the same line as they do for the packet pickups and everything. Sure. So I visualized myself, doing the marathon. So that was in April. And then I had that high from it. So I said, all right, I'm going to give it a few days. If I'm still feeling this way that I really want to do this, then I'll sign up. And that's what happened maybe less than a week later. And then I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. So that's when I signed up. So that was around April. And then I started doing the Couch to 10K to get started running, because I really wasn't running too much at that point. Just like I'm doing races because of my ankle. But
so you were battling an injury or recovering from an injury when you signed up to run 26.2 miles.
Yep.
And how much time did you have between April and the race? When was the race?
So the race was at the end of October. So what happened with my ankle ended up being better, but then I have a bad back too. I have bulging discs in my back, and it flared up, and it was really bad at the end of May, and then I couldn't even walk for a couple of days, and I couldn't do any exercises, upper body or lower body, for until the beginning of September. So I couldn't do anything for months. I was
So
laid up.
between May and September, like 6 to 8 weeks before the race, you
Yeah,
couldn't do any
I
running.
couldn't do anything. Right. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
decided to go ahead and run the race.
Yeah. Because I
Okay.
already signed up. My mind was made up. So
And you're going to follow through. I'm so
yeah.
with you there. Okay. So
Yeah.
what happens? So this is October of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So take us to race day. Tell us what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So since my training started so late, Denny had me doing walk running. So
Intervals.
Right, yeah, interval. That's
Yeah.
that's what I was looking for. Yes, I was doing
Yeah.
some interval training for
Yeah.
miles and stuff. So now I can't remember the number of minutes that I ended up getting to. So then on race day, the plan was to do these intervals all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah. So then I was doing that, and it was really good. I felt pretty good through most of it until maybe about the half marathon part, and then my legs were just like dead. And but I was gonna keep on going anyway, because my mind was made up that I was gonna finish.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing is that I kind of fell behind, and then I saw there were buses that people were getting on the buses, and then he asked me if I wanted to get on the bus, and I said no, I'm finishing. I thought those people just were just like didn't think they were going to be able to finish, and I said I'll crawl across the finish line
Yeah.
if I have to. And then I went around the mall at Washington, that's going from the Washington Monument all the way to the Capitol, and then come back around. I was coming down the straightaway, and then somebody stopped me that was a volunteer at the race, and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're not gonna be able to finish the race. The bridge is closed." And I'm like, "What? The bridge is closed?" And she said, "Oh yeah, you didn't know about that? Oh, you missed it by 7 minutes too."
Okay. So you got pulled from the race. Your pace was, you were 7 minutes behind pace to continue.
Get across, yeah, because they want to open the bridge to traffic. So I found out afterwards that they closed the bridge to the runners at a certain time, like 12:30 or 1:30 or something like that. So
Okay. So at that point, did you have to get on a bus?
yeah, so she said there was a bus around the corner. I go around the corner, there's no bus. So I kept looking, and there wasn't. So I turned around to come back, and as I was walking back, then I turned my ankle, my left ankle, but this was the one that I wasn't hurt, so not that. So I was slipping. I make it to the corner, and all the people that were just there were gone.
Okay. So you're stuck. Who did you hitch
yeah.
a ride with?
Then I saw there were medics all the way at the end of the road. I didn't see them at first, but then I saw another bus coming to pick them up. So I hobbled all the way over there, and then I asked if I could get a ride. It didn't go straight back to where the original buses were, so I had to get on some other rides to get where I needed to get. Yeah, so it was a nightmare.
So this is technically a did not finish
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of headspace were you in at that point?
I was so upset. This is 19 miles into the race, so I did 19 miles. Went all that way and then couldn't finish.
I didn't realize that you get literally 7 miles from the end and they pull you. I would have been so pissed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was. And I said, oh, and I was done. I was so angry. But then probably, this always happens to me, and probably maybe like a half hour later, I got angry, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to kick this race's ass next year. I'm coming back. I'm going to do." So it took not that long to process, and wanted to get back at it again.
Okay, yeah. So your resolve kicked in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, you had a full year to prepare.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting. Okay, so you ran the Marine Corps marathon just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we talk about this race, you were in the funk, obviously being pulled from that race so
Mhm.
close to the finish line, and decided pretty quickly, hey, I'm going to come back and do this again. I'm going to cross that finish line, right?
Yeah.
How did that mindset or that determination impact you as you began to train again for this most recent?
Um, I felt li- like I flat out said that I failed to do this, but I take that failure and I learn lessons from it. So, of course, my biggest lesson was that back injury. So I did what I could to keep my back healthy this time. And I still have Adriana as a personal trainer, so she
Do
helped
you
me with
really?
that.
I
Yep,
love
yep,
that.
yep,
That's
yep.
amazing.
So yeah, I just had that mindset that I have these lessons that, and I'm gonna learn from them and
Yeah.
make sure that I don't fail again. I can improve this time. Yeah, yeah.
What's the biggest
Uh,
lesson you learned from the 2024 race?
that well, first I was angry, but my lesson was that it's not like a total failure. You have these setbacks and you learn from them, and I just use it as fuel to you know
Yeah.
go for the next time instead of quitting. Because yeah,
Right. Tell us about the race this year.
yep. So I did I did stay healthy this time. I was able to do longer runs, so I was way ahead. And the funny thing was with the training, I had a lot of good runs, but then there were also some that I was struggling. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to be ready for this, especially as it got closer to the race. I had some really tough long runs. Yep, I got in my head. I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. But then I would look at the times after, and I saw that the times improved. So I would have this mantra, trust the process. It's just a matter of staying consistent. So I think it's like that for any aspect or any goal that you want to hit in life. You work at it consistently and you'll improve. Even when you have days that feel bad, you're still making progress.
Yes.
So I learned from that. And this is another thing. I also knew the course a little bit better. So I knew like where
Yeah.
the bad hills were and everything because it's pretty hilly the first 5K. So instead of just doing flat intervals and walking when I felt like I could be running and trying to force myself to run when I should be conserving energy. So I went by how I felt because I did the training, so I knew what would work and not work. So I'm still doing intervals, but just not a set time. So
Okay.
when I was feeling good, I'd be running and turning it up and yeah, and I was with a large group of runners for little while.
Yeah.
And then around the 9 mile marker, so I there's an island in the middle of you're in this park and there's an island, so you go around one end and it's like a little U-turn at the end, then you're coming back from where you
Yeah.
came from. So when I was on my way back, and then all of a sudden I see a caravan of buses going by on the other side of the road that were behind us, and then a literal street sweeper behind
Yes.
them. So then I got in my head so bad at that point because then I felt like they were like right behind me, and yeah, and I was
Yeah.
already starting to get tired, so I really got down on myself and really went to a
Yeah.
dark place. So it just
This is
showed how
on the run. Like you see
I'm
this
there. Yes,
street
yes,
sweeper. Like what a
yes.
metaphor.
Hmm.
And the buses with a reminder. Okay, so in
Yeah.
those moments, like because I can imagine, first of all, I would 100% be in my head exactly the way you would be. Like I could totally put myself there. How did you, or did you change the narrative in your head?
I think my training helped me. Those bad runs actually helped because
Oh,
I'm
really?
struggling with them. Yeah, yeah. And and it was around the same time when I was falling behind
Yeah.
last time, but it felt like there was more people around. But I still got in my head because a lot of people are following my journey because I'm proving that it's never too late to chase dreams because I'm 55 years old right now, and this is my first marathon, and a lot of people are watching me, a lot more turns out than I realized because a lot of people were
Yeah.
tracking me, and I found out afterwards. But so I was so upset. I just like, oh, I let all these people down, but I just kept moving forward. There was just something in my head that I just kept moving forward anyway. Then it got to a point where I was doing more walking than running, but I was walking as fast as I could.
Yeah.
But there was still a lot of people around me, so that kept my hope alive a little bit.
Was it different from the 2024 race? Were there not as many people around you as there were this race?
Right. Yeah. There were less people around. Actually, I had, yeah, it got even worse when people were getting on the buses. So they were all gone too. So I was like by myself at that point.
Yeah.
But this time I felt a little more positive, but I knew I did see those buses. So I knew I had to keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us about mile 19.
Yep. So I went around that same wall again, and my back was flaring up. And then I remembered the medical tent was there. So I said, oh, maybe I need biofreeze on my back, but there's no way in hell I'm stopping. When I was coming around the mall, I noticed there still were no buses around. So then I just knew I was going to make it. Yep. And then I made it around the corner, and I made it to the bridge.
Now, this bridge is long, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say this bridge is pretty long?
Very long. Yeah. I didn't realize it at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
how did it feel going across the bridge? Because that is the point where you were picked up last year. So you actually made it onto the long bridge. How did it feel as you were crossing the bridge?
Oh, I got so emotional. I had like a belt on that I had my camera inside. So I on my phone. So I kept that away so that I finally took it out. That was the first time I took my phone out, and I took a picture, and I got all emotional once I was got on there for sure. And they weren't going to kick me off.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize the bridge is that long. Yes.
Well, yes. You know, you shared that with me. I was like, I can't imagine a miles long bridge. Tell me about the finish line.
Oh, first, after we got over the bridge, and then we do these loops around, and then it wasn't so scenic, them running around the Pentagon parking lot. And then we got to this area that's almost like around these streets. And then all of a sudden the Marine said to a bunch of us, hurry up, you only have 5 minutes to go a quarter of a mile. They're going to close that road. So there was another deadline that I didn't know about that I needed to make.
Oh, no.
And luckily,
you made it.
And yes, I was like, oh, I could do a quarter mile in 5 minutes. Yeah, yes. Yeah. And at that point, I was still in a lot of pain, but I forced myself to run. I went all this way. There's no way in hell I'm stopping. Then I was in good shape. And then I think I probably had after that point, there was probably about 4 miles left. So of course, people are saying, well, you went all this way, you only have 4 miles left. I said, oh, that's more than a 5K. I've been doing this 5K.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to be done. So I still was walking a lot, but I just wanted to be done.
That's amazing.
And everybody that was around me, they were also walking because they were all limping. They were all in as rough shape as me. So I didn't feel alone. Yeah. So that's another good thing about this. The community, running community is amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who was waiting for you across the finish line?
Oh, the Marines. Yeah. Yeah. So when you get to the 26-mile mark, you take a left and you go up this steep hill for 0.1 mile.
Oh my gosh.
Because Marines designed it. And then you take a turn, and it's a straightaway, reach to the finish line. And luckily it's a straightaway, so you're able to run across, and then they put the medal on you. Then you going through all these Marines giving you high fives, like a gauntlet of high fives and everything. It's such a great feeling. I didn't know if I was going to be crying or emotional when I crossed the finish line, but again, like I said, I just wanted to be done. So I was happy to finish. So I didn't even think about it. I was just on adrenaline at that point. Yeah.
What did crossing the finish line represent for you?
That I can overcome anything, and it doesn't even matter how old you are, your age or anything, what kind of shape you're in. Just recently when I posted one of my runs on TikTok, somebody commented and said, yeah, us semi-fluffy people got to stick together. So I'm semi-fluffy, which
Jeez.
I guess that was a compliment, but I said,
okay.
Well, I've lost a lot of weight, so I guess I went from fluffy to semi-fluffy. So yeah, but I'm not somebody that you see on Runner's Magazine or something like that. But so it doesn't even matter. You can do this. The other major marathons, like even Boston or New York, you can take like 8 to 10 hours, and I did this one in 7 hours and 10 minutes. You have to make those deadlines. I just had this great sense of accomplishment, and now from this point forward, not only did I run 1.5 miles on a really messed up ankle, but I finished a marathon that probably less than 1% of the people in the world have ever done. I've learned. So yeah.
100%. How has this experience changed how you approach challenges?
It just reinforces the idea to stay consistent, and it just showed that I'm resilient. And when you're working on something, you're just trusting the process, and you get to accomplish these goals. And I've done it now, so I have the actual proof that I can go back to in my head. Yeah.
Absolutely. What I think is fascinating is when you were in your head in the 2025 race, when you're in your head, you remembered the bad runs that you had
Yep.
and how even those bad runs were still progress
You're
towards
right.
the goal. So I love that you pulled on not necessarily an overly positive experience, but just any experience to help you shift that thought process in the moment, which is really
Y-
cool.
Yep. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even failing
Yeah.
to finish last year, and I proved that I can do it. So you can just
Yeah.
take these challenges, and even those help you build up better. Yeah.
If you're listening to this episode and you're not a marathoner or a runner, but you attempted something and you had whatever the version is of a did not finish in your attempt, you can take away something really powerful from Paul's story, because the idea of saying, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to figure it out. I mean, that is grit and resilience in the funk in making that
Yep.
decision. So, Paul, what would you say to somebody who has tried something, and maybe it's not a race or what have you, but had their version of a did not finish? What advice or what tidbit would you give them if they're in the funk in that in between moment?
Realize that you have it in you. If you have this dream inside of you, it was put there for a reason. So just stick with it. You've made it this far in life. We've all gone through challenges, and you're still here. You're here. You're listening to the show right now. You're not going to be 100% perfect. It's important to have failures, I think, just as much as wins, and just take these lessons and to help
Yeah.
you.
It's so fascinating because as I am having more and more of these conversations with people who have been in the funk, like there's so much to be learned from those moments that feel like failures, that feel like you missed it. There's so much to be learned, and the perspective shift can be very, very powerful if you continue moving forward. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I love this story. We'll show a picture or two of Paul's race here if
Yeah.
you're watching on YouTube, which is
Oh, I forgot to
definitely
show
the
you
way to
this
do
too.
it.
There it
Oh, is that
is.
your medal?
Got the
Oh my
medal.
gosh,
Yep.
that's
It's yours.
amazing.
Yep. Yep.
That's amazing. Oh my
And it
gosh, Paul, I
opens up.
love it. I love it. Well, hey, listen, if Paul's story gave you something to think about, or maybe that little push to keep going, please take that energy with you today. And just remember, every time we listen, share, and talk about these stories, we're creating a ripple effect, helping more people recognize when they're in the funk and reminding them that they're not alone on the journey out. We will see you next time, everybody.